All right, back with another D5 video. This one's all about glass. Glass can make or break your rendering. I'm going to show you some secrets inside D5 and Photoshop to enhance your glass. All right, let's jump into it. Here we go. I have this big bright blue object here. I'm going to select that object, and I'm going to go ahead with that object selected. I'm going to go down in the upper right for the material template, and I'm going to choose transparent. Okay, that's how I'm going to make my glass. And right away you get this really like purple, deep blue purple color object. And I'm just going to change the base color on this. I'm just going to make this a bit lighter. I'm not too concerned with what it looks like yet. We're going to come back and really adjust the glass settings. I want to start with, if I'm making a still image and I have Photoshop for post-production, I'm going to use it to my advantage because there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of things I can do with the glass. For an animation, I'm a little bit more limited. I have to stay in D5. So we'll do the still image Photoshop version, and then we'll come back and do the animation version. Okay, I'm just going to render this out. And when I render it out, I'm going to want to make sure channels is on. And I'm going to have just transparent set, and we'll see what that makes us and when we open up in Photoshop. So let's go ahead and render that out. Okay, that's finished rendering. We're going to go ahead and open the two files in Photoshop. Just want to update my scene while I'm here. Okay, so in Photoshop, we'll talk about what this image is. This is a real secret, a little trick that I've developed over my many years of rendering, and we'll talk about what that is in a second. But let's go ahead and open up the glass, which is just the rendering. It just happens to be named glass, and the transparent. So there's the rendering and the transparent channel. Okay, there's my transparent channel, and there's my rendered channel. So what I'm going to do in the transparent channel is I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a select. Well, first I'm going to just select all. Control A is select all. Control C is copy. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to Control V to paste it. And from my layers, I'm going to name this one. I'm going to call this glass selection. And then I'm going to call this other one my rendering. All right, so with that layer selected, let's go up to main menu, select color range. Let's pick the colored material, the transparent area. I'm going to keep my fuzziness down at 0. I have that selected. I'm going to save that selection. So I'm going to go to main menu, select, and I'm going to go to save selection, and I'm going to call this glass reflection. Okay, so I have that. Now I can do a lot of things here. Okay, one thing I can do is I can start with this map or image that I have, which is my glass reflection. How did I get that? Well, over in D5, I just set up a camera looking 180 degrees from this one, looking from the building out. And what does that look like? Looking from the building out? The building out looks just like that, and I rendered it out. Okay, so let's go to that. So I'm going to take that Control A, Control C, and I'm going to paste it into my Photoshop file that I'm making here. So I'm going to Control V to paste it in. Okay, I'm going to scale it. It's way too big. So I'm just using Control T, and I'm going to scale that down. I'm going to pretty much scale it to the size of the rendering. That's probably about good right there. So we'll leave it like that. It's a different proportion. Okay, so now I can take this. This is going to be my reflection image. Okay, so I can get my selection. I can go to main menu, select, load selection, and I can choose glass reflection. And then I can do a quick mask. Layer has to be current. Then I can do a quick mask on that. Okay, and now I have just the area. Now, I probably want some grass in the foreground. So I'm going to undo this. And I'm going to raise this up So what's helpful is if I make it a little bit transparent, I can then kind of see. And I want some grass in that foreground. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and do my select, load selection, glass reflection, make sure that reflection image layer is current by highlighting it, click on the mask. Okay, and now I can do things like I can do blendings, I can make this, now I'm controlling the reflection. You can see how I'm really controlling the reflection in Photoshop, okay, which I think is just very helpful to be able to do that in Photoshop. So what can I do? I can do things like make it a little bit brighter. Okay, make sure that you're not on the map because that's only gonna, or the layer mask. Make sure you're on the actual layer. So I can go to image, adjustments, and I can go to brightness contrast, and I can start to brighten this. So now I'm getting a much brighter glass. I can do some contrast on that. So that's one level of fine tuning, we'll call it. I can make new layers. I'd like a little bit of a color gradient. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make a color gradient. So I'm going to change my foreground color. I'm going to do something like a deep blue here. And then for my foreground, I'm going to do like a little light yellow color. And I'm going to make a new layer. So I'm going to do Shift Control N for a new layer. I'm going to call this Sky Gradient. I'm going to just use the gradient tool. For that gradient tool, I have to make sure that I have under basics, click on the little arrow, and then choose the foreground background. And now I'm going to make, since I'm just kind of working in the sky, I'm going to go from here over and make that gradient. Okay, so that's my gradient color. And now what I'm going to do is for that layer, I'm going to flatten that layer down. Okay, and the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to right click and choose delete layer mask. And I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to choose rasterize because I don't want the smart gradient. Sure, it's helpful, but I want to just get rid of it, and the way that I get rid of it is I rasterize the layer. So choose rasterize layer. So now I have my gradient. How does that look? I want to get that over the glass, so I'm going to make this transparent. A little harder to see this. Probably won't see it till I actually apply it, but I'm going to move it like here where my blue is starting in the upper left hand corner there. And I'm going to go ahead and raise the opacity for now. And I'm going to do that same thing where I go to select, load selection, and I'm choosing my glass reflection, making sure that layer is current, and then clicking on the mask. So there I have a mask there. Not enough color. I want to put that gradient. So I'm going to undo that. I want to get some more color in this. So Control D is your friend. That's going to deselect for you. So maybe there is a little bit better. Almost back where it was. So you gotta fine tune these things, right? So we're going to go to select. We're going to go to load selection, and we're going to change this to glass reflection. And we're going to add our quick mask. Okay, that's a lot better. So now we're getting a little color gradient, and I can take down that too. Now we can start to do some things like under normal here, we can start to use some of these mixing objects. Blending, they're called blending. So we can do some blending. So we have some blending options, and you can kind of go through here and pick some of these that you like. And so those are helpful. That one's pretty cool. That divide really is like a strong kind of like morning. And I'm not saying that that's going to work for everybody, but that kind of is like reflecting a strong like golden hour. And then I can always take, let's see, the The opacity of the sky gradient, okay, so I've taken that down. And then if I just see, that helps a lot. These things really help a lot. So that's the way to find, and then you have that there. That's the way to fine tune it in Photoshop. And you can imagine the possibilities there are endless with being able to control that in Photoshop. All right, let's head back over to D5 and look at how to set up the glass in D5. So let's go back to our materials camera. Okay, so there is the big blue object there. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on it and get that selected. Let me get out of camera mode. So I'm going to get that selected, and I'm going to go to custom, and I'm going to choose transparent. Okay, so we did that before. I undid a few steps just so we can see it once more time. Once more. We can see it one more time. Okay, so now we're back to just like our base glass, and I'm going to change the color on that. Make it a little bit brighter. Okay. What else do we have? We have, if I go down this list, the normal doesn't really help me too much. That was if I had like a bump map, but specular is really what makes glass shiny. So you can see that 0, it's dull. 1, it's very shiny. So you want to use the specular. That mixed in with the refraction. Refraction is a little bit hard to see here, but when light refracts off of it, that's going to be really important. If your glass has a thickness, you don't have to do anything there. Roughness is the glossiness. So when it's up high, it gets dull again, but when it's down low, it gets glossy. So you're just going to want to find the sweet spot for that. Opacity, if the glass is really opaque, you can't see into it, so it gets really reflective. And it's really transparent, it's less reflective. So finding the right value for that. Let's see, anything else we need to set here? I mean, I think that's pretty much it to get a good glass. Now, one super duper cool trick to this is to change the base color map. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to that reflection map that I showed you, which is looking from the building in the opposite direction. So that becomes a really helpful texture. And that gets overlaid right on top of it. All right, first thing I want to do with that is I want to change the scale on it. So I want to, and it's a little harder to see the scale on this. I would say one way to help you place that map would be to make the glass opaque. See, when you make the glass opaque, you can really see what that map looks like. And then you can go from there, and let's get a really good scale on that. Okay, one thing to remember is a lot of times with stretching, you got to do them unproportionally. So you see the X and the Y are not the same. And then you can lock it back, and then it'll follow those same proportions. All right, let's render this out. All right, don't forget to change the opacity down from 1, okay? Get that set up the way you want it. All right, that's how you set up glass. Hopefully you learned some secrets in Photoshop how to do the glass, and in D5 on its own to do the glass. I will see you on the next one.